I've lived a lot of my life thinking about how somebody else might perceive me and acting in a way conducive to that. Living as a pretender, as a role player. I've lived my life in a way constantly thinking, what would this person think of that? Or what might this group perceive me as if I do this? Or, wow, I'm going to do this amazing thing so I can tell somebody about this. Or take this picture of me on top of this mountain so people can see how cool I am. So that I can prove myself. So that I can show off how good I am and establish my sense of separateness and independence and amazingness and importance. But living a life where we live for the perception of others and where we live to get the approval of another person besides ourselves makes us fake. It leaves so much of us locked up inside of ourselves in this cage of worrying about what other people will think. And you can catch yourself doing this all the time. You constantly censor an emotion. Maybe you don't laugh as hard because you're worried people will think you're silly, or maybe you don't cry because you're worried people will think you're weak. It's in the expression of emotion that this shows up extremely well and very clearly. We'll also do this with our jobs. We'll stay in a job because we think that's the job we're supposed to have, because if we quit it and do something else, people will think we're crazy, or maybe we eat a certain way or hide the way we eat from other people because they'll think we're crazy. Maybe we hide the way we just naturally are as a person all the time. We're modifying it. And I lived a life for a long time where I modified myself, where I played a role, where as I hung out with somebody different, each time I did, I sunk into a different type of role, maybe changing the way I talk a little bit just to fit in with them better, maybe changing the way I dress to fit in with them better, changing the way I act based on who I'm interacting with. But when we start to see this in ourselves, we start to look at it and say, I am not being who I am. I am not acting from a true place in my heart. I am living a lie. And all of us are doing this to some degree or another because society has been created to place pressures on us to do so, to weigh a certain weight, to dress a certain way, to let our hair be in a certain direction and a certain fashion, and to choose a certain sexuality, etc., etc., on and on. The opportunities to see this and the way we do this in our lives are endless. And as long as you live that way, you will live in a prison created by society, a prison created truly by your own choosing. And when we let go of our constant worry about what somebody else will think, when we let go of modifying our behavior on behalf of someone else and we live sincerely and fully and truly, that's when we begin to rest into ourselves, to become ourselves, to understanding truly what the self is. And I'm not asking you to live in some egotistical fashion or perceived sense of self, or to act out anything, because that's all the ego is. It's an actor. And that's what this ego does to us. And that's part of where our fear comes from. It's that ego saying, oh, people aren't going to like you. People aren't going to approve of you. You're going to be ostracized and left out there alone. You're not going to have any friends. You're going to fail. You're going to be unhappy. But it's that voice that keeps us unhappy. It's that voice that keeps us from ever taking a risk, from ever taking a chance, from ever taking the chance of letting all those hindrances fall away, all those defenses fall down, and letting ourselves be open and vulnerable. But that openness and vulnerability of becoming ourselves and living as ourselves and living from our heart, living from our chest, living from our passions, living from our drives, living that way is the way to live, and you will not fail. And the people that drop out of your life or think that you're weird, you don't need them. Because that's just their ego judging you. They're caught in the same cage you were, but you're the one who's going to fly out free. Be powerful. Be amazing. Realize yourself and be happy and find satisfaction and meaning in life that you didn't even know was there. Don't be afraid to be yourself, to be the person you are in this moment, to live out your impulses and desires in whatever manner that passion and compassion and love and mercy and humility act upon themselves in that manner. Anything that takes you down this route of being yourself, and what I'm talking now, that takes you towards hurting someone or violating someone or doing something wrong, that's just your ego still acting, so be careful. But if you do this correctly, and you live from that pull in your chest, powerful things will happen. Don't be afraid to be yourself. don't be afraid to use your voice. And don't be afraid to live radically in love and compassion and mercy and humility and grace.